In Wizard101, when your character reaches level 25, you are tasked by Headmaster Merle Ambrose to serve as an exchange student for a short amount of time in a rival school named Pigswick Academy on the beautiful world of Wisteria. During your term abroad, you learn much from a school that claims that they've truly figured out magic and that they've filled in all of the gaps of misunderstanding that the scholars at Ravenwood had neglected. However, as you spend more time at this avant-garde university, little secrets start to spill that paint one unmistakable idea. You're left with a soured opinion of this school that all of its teachings are sorry rip-offs of the school at Ravenwood. Today, I'm here to challenge this pessimistic idea that the game presents, so if you'll entertain me for just a minute, then welcome to the garden. Fire is passion. The bright, burning flame of raw emotion sweeping over everything. Those who follow the school of fire are tempestuous, quick to anger, and consumed by whatever drives them at that moment. This is how Ravenwood's School of Fire is explained in-game. It paints a picture of a passionate and intense discipline and the ever-looming risk of being destroyed by one's own magic, or at the very least causing immense destruction to their surroundings. Now, let's see how Professor Anku of Pigswick's Ember School would describe his own teachings.
Ember magic is about warmth and security. In the cold dark of the spiral, ember is like a warm rock to stretch out on. Wizards who study ember magic are not very adventuresome and prefer the comforts of hearth and home. Ember wizards are crafters, doctors, and cooks, using flame to forge artifacts, treat injuries, or bake cookies. So from the ember we can learn much. Better to be safe and patient than to leap into action. I hope that explains things.
I don't think I need to explain to you why those really don't seem like equivalents, and fire isn't the only example of this. As a matter of fact, I'd argue that this inequivalence extends to every other element we see. Let's look at myth. Most of you would know myth wizards as being the most disciplined, studious apprentices in Ravenwood. That makes sense, as the myth school's founding principle is that with enormous amounts of precision, impossible things can be willed into existence. If you don't remember off the top of your head what the so-called rip-off of myth magic at Pigswick is, I'll give you a second to guess. Just kidding, it's chaos. One of the few things we hear about chaos magic from its professor is that it, quote, defies logic. This does not sound anything like Ravenwood's rational and sensible myth magic, save for its focus on the use of imagination. Ice magic in Ravenwood is the tank class, impenetrable defense defined by its endurance, persistence, and strength, whereas Pigswick's frost magic is specifically said to be rare and delicate. Storm is the inventor's school of unkempt creativity, entropy, and forward progress, but Tempest magic is an almost spiritual study of duality between order and chaos, the past and the future. It's a school not of invention, but of introspection. Life magic at Ravenwood is one of the three spirit magics, which makes sense because it's the study of the essence of life and the song of creation, but earth magic is stated as the magic of the real and all things tangible. It could not even be in the same category as life magic. Surely, I hear you say, balance is the one school that would have to stay the exact same. It's simply a conglomerate of the teachings of all other schools, but that's the thing. Equilibrium magic is not. You see, balance magic values a fluid integration of the elements, all powers consolidated into one discipline. But when we learn about equilibrium magic, we're told that it is a separate active force meant to bring order, structure, and control to an otherwise chaotic world. Each of these schools share at least something with their Ravenwood counterpart, but by and large, a lot of these seem like practical opposites. There's something more here than just a name change and a new banner. I think at this point, it's safe to say that the schools held at Pigswick Academy are much more than just a rebranding. But we learn as we play through the WYSTERIA questline that Pigswick is just, well, an ineffective school. While we make our way through the streets of this new world, we eventually stumble across the Pigswick Papers, a 4-volume origin story of the Academy. These papers tell us that the school's founder, Bainbridge Pigswick, was actually once a Ravenwood student, but he either failed or was kicked out due to a lack of work ethic. Ravenwood would tell you that he was simply bad at magic, but the truth is that he was incredibly studious. But whenever it was time for physical application, he failed miserably. His incompetence at Ravenwood got him expelled, and his bitterness drove him to create a new school, where the focus was on the study and philosophy of magic. This school would have a massive library expending all of the knowledge of magic available at the time, and that meant Ravenwood's teachings as well. We see this book titled The Magic of Storms in Pigswick's library, as well as in the Chaos classroom, and it makes sense that a Chaos Wizard would want to understand principles of storm magic. We're explicitly told that many Pigswick students graduate with very little real magical ability, and that makes sense when the Academy's educational structure forgoes material training and practice. But I don't think that means that what is taught there is inherently invalid. We don't know where all of the professors at Pigswick came from, but we know that they were all previously accredited educators who transferred to Pigswick to teach these novel ideas, other than the Frost teacher. But we see that these experienced professors think that Pigswick Academy has more logical characterizations and categorizations than Ravenwood. Another thing a lot of people like to point out is that the school is only available to richer families, and I hear a lot of people referencing this information without considering the fact that if you're some random guy building an entire academy from the ground up with one of the largest libraries in the spiral, it would be impossible to open the school with no tuition cost. The debt of the library alone would be enough to keep the tuition incredibly high, let alone the construction costs and paying for the teachers, guards, and all of their materials. Sorry for the sidebar, but I thought it was necessary to bring that up at some point. So we've now established two things. Firstly, we know for a fact that even if Bainbridge Pigswick stole ideas from Ravenwood's teachings, the Academy's teachings in present day barely resemble anything you'd learn at Ravenwood. We also know that there's a good chance these teachings could be valid if it weren't for the teaching style. After all, Ra's magic, which came to be balance magic, had nothing to do at all with Ravenwood or Bartleby. It was just a new interpretation of already established forces. With the assumption that both of those things are true, I think now would be a good time to mention something that completely throws a wrench in the equivalence theory. This school. Let's do a quick review of the structure of magic at Ravenwood. We have two categories, elemental magic and spirit magic. Each of these categories have 3 schools within them, and the more novel balance magic sits outside of both categories because, again, it is the combination of every other school's philosophies. But at Pigswick, the schools aren't split into those sections, and here is the reason. Pigswick Academy has always been a more philosophical approach to magic, and thus spirit magic is not a category, but a proficiency. One single class, with its opposite being earth magic, the magic of the real. And along with this comes other changes to the relationships between schools. We already know that not every school is an equivalent, but let's do a mental exercise for a second. What is the opposite of ice? Hopefully, most of you said fire. Now, what's the opposite of life? Death, right? In-game, myth and storm are opposites, the school of imagination and the school of invention. This never made much sense to me, but Pigswick Academy's structure is different. Here, I'll show you why. What's the opposite of balance? Well, Wizard101 has no opposite to balance, but Pigswick Academy does. Chaos. Listen to what the Chaos instructor has to say when you're first introduced to him.
Chaos is the magic of the unexpected, the unusual, the unpredictable. It defies logic and turns things downside up. Anything and everything you can imagine can be found in chaos, except order. Order is boring. You don't want to find that.
Which makes this line from the Equilibrium teacher much more important.
I am Professor Velma Pepper, and I teach the magic of equilibrium. My school represents bringing order to the spiral.
Equilibrium magic is defined as a force that actively creates order, the one thing chaos magic rejects. This could not have been said to us any clearer. The issue with this now is that storm magic is thrown out of its juxtaposition to myth magic in this interpretation. There still has to be a school whose state exists as a combination of all the other ideas. A school that doesn't take sides but learns from the strengths of both. This school is introduced to us when we walk straight to the center of all of the Wisteria classrooms, into the lecture hall for the class of Tempest.
Tempest magic is about duality and hidden meaning. Like the tide, it's about the ebb and flow of life. The surface is stormy, to be sure, but beneath it is dark and quiet, and the waters are deep beyond imagining.
So we have a school that focuses on not only raw physical power, but deems it just as important to retreat to a state of mindfulness. A powerful stormy surface and the silent wisdom of the ocean. I don't think that this dynamic could have been written any more explicitly. So then, what is the structure of Pigswick Academy's magic? I'm sure there are many ways to categorize and visualize this, but I like to split it into 3 separate domains. Physical versus ethereal, permanence versus transience, order versus chaos, and then the school that teaches balance. Okay, I know I've gone over a lot in this video, so I'd just like to end with this. Obviously, this was just a theory, and though it's grounded in in-game lore, this is meant to be a hypothetical discussion, not a lesson. These were my thoughts replaying my personal favorite Wizard101 world, and the more I looked into it, I kept finding more supporting details for it, so I thought it might interest some other fans of the game. I'd like to eventually make some real lore videos, but these what-if questions can be a lot of fun, so I can't wait to hear any other arguments you have for or against this theory below. I hope you all have enjoyed my first video as AstralGarden, and I'll see you around the spiral. Bye.